It's my debut. I'm stoked.
Alright.
Okay, so in my junior year of high school, I intentionally flunked Algebra 2. So I quietly entered the classroom midway through the final, and I placed my textbook on the teacher's desk, and I exited. 2 weeks later, I enrolled in summer school to make up for these lost credits. And I was actually really surprised to find a lot of smart kids, including these punk rockers that I was hanging out with, had enrolled to get ahead. And so one afternoon, Robin, who's this young woman a year behind me, comes up to me and she asks me if I want to join the group of punks on a trip into Harvard Square. And I really hated going home at the time, so I was like, oh yeah, let's go. So a couple minutes later, the T-bus pulls up and we pay our 75-cent fare, and an hour later we roll into Harvard Square. Now, I had no money and no material ambition, and so I was just really happy to follow these kids as they shopped. And they followed an extremely particular circuit. So they go to Una's for used clothing, they go to the Harvard Square bookstore for used books, they go to Newbury Comics for records and zines, and they cap this experience off with a piece of pizza, and then they head home. So a couple more trips like this, and I start transitioning from a suburban kid to a street kid. And now, the teenagers in my hometown are really different from the kids in Harvard Square. So in my hometown, Lexington, kids who can barely play their instruments jam in someone's basement until they start arguing, and then it's time to go home. In Harvard Square, there are some boys who are in bands, and they release demo tapes and singles on 7-inch, and they're playing local all-ages shows. And my claim to fame at the time was that I looked like a boy, and I was openly gay. So I start going to parties on the weekends, and either Friday or Saturday night, invariably a group of young boys who know me from the square come up and they're like, hey, Ilsa. I'm like, yeah. See that cute girl over there? I'm like, yeah. Go make out with her and then we're going to tell you a girl. No. Yeah, come on, it'll be really funny. No. And so within a couple months, everyone in the square starts to know I'm female, and then I'm, with a clear conscience, making out with as many girls as I can. And the boys are definitely not amused at that point. So I start spending as much time as possible in the square, and one fall afternoon, I've been totally incorporated into this core group of kids that hang out in the square, and I bump into Cliff and Alex. Now, Cliff and Alex are in bands. They always dress head to toe in black. They're really close friends, so they don't really say a lot to each other because they just seem to know what's in each other's head. And so they say to me, or they tell me that they're heading into Copley Place, which has just been finished, and they make it clear that I can join them. And in true punk rock fashion, we don't pay for anything, or if we cannot pay for anything, we don't. So the doors at the back of the Harvard Square movie theater can be jimmied open. The Rebecca at Strollers is always really quick to hand the punks sandwiches for free. And the rear gate at the Harvard Brattle train station is always unlocked and unguarded. Alex, Cliff, and I saunter onto the above-ground train station, and we sort of stand on the platform like smoking and spitting onto the tracks until the train shows up. So when we eventually emerge onto Boylston Street as we're exiting Copley Station, I figure I'm just going to watch these guys shoplift. And instead, we go up the up escalator, and we go into the Westin Hotel lobby, and we walk past the concierge, and we ride the elevator to the 36th floor. And we walk to the end of the corridor, and Alex opens a door. And so we walk into this enormous room, and the atmosphere is filled with this machine hum, the smell of recently poured concrete and fresh paint. And so we make our way through a maze of air conditioning ducts and, I don't know, some sort of pipes. And we get to another door, and Alex opens that door. And so we step onto the roof, and this has been tarred and has small pebbles, so we step out onto the roof. And I'm just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. You can see the end of the Charles River and the Boston Science Center, and like a little bit beyond that to like Somerville. And so we walk up to the edge of the roof and we look down, and it's sort of like the sheer cliff. And the Boston Public Library is this little tiny building over there, and the John Hancock building is over here. And we're standing there, and Cliff pulls out a pack of cigarettes. So at the time, we used to scour newspaper circulars and magazines for these 2-for-1 coupons. And as a result, we're smoking these disgusting tasting cigarettes. So we're cupping the flame against the wind, we light up, and we're standing there, admiring the view. And so then Alex reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out an M80. And so this electric charge sort of goes through the three of us because they're illegal, they're hard to come by, and they're manufactured to simulate artillery fire. So I'm just hanging with the two boys. And so then Alex takes the ember of his cigarette and he holds it against the fuse. And mentally we count 1 1,000, 2 1,000. And he sort of just gently lobs it towards the street. 3 1,000, 4 1,000. And the explosion could be heard like clear across the back bay. And at that point I turn, and I'm expecting like a maintenance man or security or someone to come like charging through this door that we've come out. Nobody comes charging through the door. So we just kind of casually smoke our cigarettes, put them out, make our way back down the street level, jump the turnstiles, and head back into the square. Thank you.